Cool. So just let me say this too before I start. Principal Smith is one of my favorite people in the entire world, and you all are very fortunate to be in such good hands. So why don't we all give him a round of applause for everything that he does and the staff at Fulton High School. So I'd like to talk with you all about kind of my life journey, and everyone goes through different things in their lives, right? So as I'm speaking, I hope you don't think that I'm being preachy or, one of those deals where, man, when I was a kid, I walked through school 5 miles both ways in the snow uphill, right? So that's not what I'm doing. I have no idea what any of you guys have been through. But I think that as all of us proceed on our journey through life, there are common themes and touchstones that everybody goes through. And maybe as I share my story, my journey with you, you guys can pull something out that you can use, that you can relate to. And that's what I hope happens. If not, fine, whatever. You get hang out here for a little while instead of class, which is cool too. Okay? So is that cool with you guys? And do you mind if I tell you a little bit about myself, my life story? Is that okay? All right, thank you. So I was actually born in Madrid, Spain. I wasn't even born in the United States. My dad was in the Air Force, and I was born on an Air Force base. Previous to that, he had been in the Navy. He'd spent 21 years total in the military. Shortly after I was born, my family moved back to America, and when I was about 4 years old, Dad retired to the military, and our family moved to very rural northeast Missouri. I grew up 5 miles outside of a town of about 300 people. I mean, there was absolutely nothing there. I've never quite figured out why Mom and Dad wanted to move there. They're both from the St. Louis, Missouri area. But nevertheless, I think they just wanted to live in the country and wanted to have a farm. So this is back in the 1970s, and things were pretty tough economically in our country. And there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities for jobs and careers in the area that we were living in. So Dad worked in factories. He got laid off more times than I can remember. Because he had his military retirement, we always had a place to live and always had something to eat. But if something happened, if an unexpected expense came along, say the car broke down or something like that, and things would get really, really tight, right? Dad worked really hard. Mom was a homemaker. She took care of the house and the kids, and she worked really hard too. But that's just kind of the way things were. Later, Dad got a job at the post office. He became a rural mail carrier, mailman, and our financial situation improved substantially, but those early years had a profound impact on me. And when I was little, I never wanted to grow up feeling like my family was kind of living paycheck to paycheck, which is how it often felt when I was a little kid. So I thought that my pathway to success would be through professional sports. Always a big fan of, that's what I did my entire life. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I wanted to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. That was a great plan, but it had one glaring fault with it, one glaring flaw. To be a professional baseball player, you actually have to play baseball well, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't pitch, I couldn't field, I couldn't hit. I was always the big kid, tall, clumsy, awkward, socially awkward, right? Just when you think of stereotypical young people that have not grown into their body yet, that was me, okay? But because of my height, I thought, well, maybe I'd be good at basketball. I have a competitive advantage. And so I started playing basketball, and I did end up being pretty good. And then as I grew into my body, became very good, actually. Wanted to play Division I basketball. I wanted to play at the University of Missouri, but partway through my senior year, I tore ligaments in one of my ankles, and my Division I scholarship opportunities dried up. Obviously, we didn't have enough money that I was going to go through school on anything other than some sort of scholarship. So I got scholarship to Northeast Missouri State University, which is a Division II school. It's now called Truman State University. So I went there, played basketball. As I'm going through my basketball career, I hadn't lifted weights in high school. Started lifting weights, put on a lot of muscle, and got to the point where by the time my eligibility in basketball was up, when I graduated high school, I probably weighed 230 pounds. I'm 6'8". So it's a beanpole. By the time that my eligibility in basketball was up, I was close to 300 pounds. And the football coach basically recruited me. Said, you know, you're not going to play in the NBA. You know that. I knew that. I wasn't good enough to play basketball in the National Basketball Association. But it's like, with your size, man, you might be able to play professional football. So I had a little bit of coursework left. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I started playing football. And he was right. I was just a naturally gifted football player. I mean, with my size, with the athleticism from playing basketball for all those years, it looked like I was going to have a chance to play professional football. We had coaches coming to the games. I was working out with our scouts coming to our games, had position coaches working out with me, all that stuff, man. It looked like I was set and I was on my way. Then one day in practice, we were putting in trick plays at the end of practice, stupidest thing ever, not wearing helmet or shoulder pads, walking through a play, no contact, and I stepped in a hole or something and completely blew out my left knee. Tore my ACL and cartilage, and it was very serious injury. I had to play that year if I was going to play because I didn't have medical redshirt left. So if I was going to play football, if I was going to get an opportunity, I had to play that. I came back in about 6 weeks, which is an extremely compressed time frame for an injury of that magnitude. In fact, my knee probably wasn't even healed up all the way. Wasn't the player that I was before the injury, but nevertheless, I had to play. Kept on going, kept on working out, hoping to get drafted. Draft day came, I was not drafted, which was disappointing, but I was offered a contract with the Chicago Bears as a free agent, and they told me that they would work with my knee injury, that it wasn't a big deal to them. So, like, cool. So, went to Chicago and to the rookie mini camp. The first day, you go through all these physicals, everything from your hearing and your vision and your dental. And then, of course, you have a team of orthopedic surgeons that are pulling and prodding and poking, making sure that all of your joints and your muscles work correctly. That day, no one said anything about my knee. So I figured I was good to go, right? Went to bed, super excited because the next day I would be on the practice field with the Chicago Bears. The next day came, getting off the bus over at the training facility. Everybody else was taken up to the practice field and the field house. There was someone waiting for me as I got off the bus. I was taken to an office building on the campus where the director of player personnel told me that my knee injury precluded me from playing for the Chicago Bears, and I was given a plane ticket home. This was the most devastating thing that had happened to me up until that point in my life. It was really embarrassing too, because again, I was from this little bitty town, so I remember being on TV. You know, they're like, Glenn Jacobs, he's going to go play for the Chicago Bears. And people ask me for my autograph and all this stuff, right? You know, and so I was like, wow, this is really cool. I'm going to be a celebrity. And then I wasn't even there for a full day, y'all. Then I got there one day, went through my physicals. The next day I was sent home. And I was devastated because ever since I'd been a little kid, all I'd ever wanted to do was to play ball. I was an athlete. That's how I defined myself. And I couldn't imagine my life not playing some sort of sport. My degree is in English, so my fallback was I was going to coach and teach, but I still wanted to play. I'm sure a lot of you are like that. I was a good student, but the real reason I was a good student because I had to make good grades to play ball, right? I didn't understand at that point in my life the importance of an education. But nevertheless, that was my dream. Is I wanted to play. I just wanted to keep on playing. And it had been taken away from me. I had my fingertips on my dream that I'd had as long as I could remember. And it was like ripped away from me, and there was nothing I could do about it. I had worked so hard to come back from that injury. While my friends, I'm in college, I'm not much older than you guys. So while my friends are out, partying and doing their thing, I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to the weight room. Then I'm going to the track in the afternoon, in the heat of the day, running wind sprints every day. And I'm thinking to myself, why did I do that? Why did I work so hard to put myself in a position to accomplish something, and then, through no fault of my own, it was taken away from me? And I had done everything right. Life was not fair, and life isn't fair. And I can wallow in self-pity. I can feel sorry for myself. So there was a long time of why me? Why did this happen to me? And I felt like my life was literally over. Because that's all I could see. When you're younger, it's like, when you focus on a goal, that's all you can see. And you don't realize that your life is going to take these different turns, okay? All you can see is that. And then when that's taken away from you, it's just, why? But there came a point I realized that my life was going to go on. And I couldn't go on doing what I was doing and feeling sorry for myself and mad at the world, which is what I was. Life would go whether I choose to participate in it or not. So the decision was whether I would try to take control back over the things that I could control. And it's a cliche, but it's very true. What happens to you is not nearly as important as how you respond to it. Because you can't always control what life does. I couldn't control my stupid knee getting stuck in a hole and getting destroyed. That wasn't my fault. I couldn't do anything about it. No one could predict that. All I could do was, what am I going to do now? What was I going to do after that with this new hand of cards that I'd been dealt? So I figured, okay, I still want to play something, right? I'm a big guy, still a pretty good athlete, despite having the bad knee. As I mentioned, my degree's in English, so I know about drama and theater. Always kind of been a fan of professional wrestling. Never thought I was going to be a professional wrestler. But nevertheless, I was like, hey, I might be good at that. And it'd be something that I might enjoy. So I found a local group that gave me a little bit of training. My first lessons as a professional wrestler were in a hayloft, okay? Literally in the promoter's barn. That's where I started with my wrestling career. For a couple years, traveled through the Midwest, performing it in front of a lot fewer people that are in this room today. Sometimes driving 300 miles one way on a weekend, not making any money. When I was making a little bit of money, it generally wasn't enough to cover my gas. I had a job to basically supplement my wrestling career. But I thought I could be good at it. I enjoyed it, wanted to keep going. Started meeting people who could help me, networking, which is another secret to success in life, is meeting people who can help you and treating everybody like you would want to be treated yourself. Eventually, I went to Puerto Rico and Japan and Germany, settled here in 1995. 1997, I signed a contract with WWE, which is the major leagues of professional wrestling. Man, I thought I was off to the races again. Everything was good, but the first couple years there were extremely humbling because I wasn't that good yet. I was still perfecting my craft. Then 1997, this character Kane was created for me, The Undertaker's brother, big deal. And then my life everything just flipped. And that dream that I'd had ever since I was a little kid of being a famous professional athlete came true in a different way than I thought it would, but nevertheless it did. I was like an overnight sensation, despite the fact that I'd spent years trying to get to where I got. But I've wrestled in all 50 states, 40 countries around the world, performed in front of millions and millions of people live and on TV, worked with some of the greatest entertainers on the planet, everybody in wrestling that y'all could possibly think of, and people outside of wrestling like the Muppets. I was in a Scooby-Doo movie. It's pretty cool. Been able to give my life to my family the life that I didn't think I ever could. We never lived paycheck to paycheck, which had always been my goal. But then when I look back across my life and I'm like, man, been able to do all this really cool stuff and been so blessed, but how is it possible that happened for me? I grew up on a farm outside of a town of 350 people in rural Missouri where there was nothing. My mom and dad didn't have any money, no connections, no political connections, no business connections. They instilled into me, they're great parents. They loved me and they instilled into me a great work ethic, but that was really about all they could give me. So how is it possible that someone like me could go from there to becoming a WWE Hall of Fame wrestler, now a mayor? How is it that people that start from much more humble beginnings than I did are able to do much greater things than I ever will? And I think it actually just boils down to one thing. And I think that one thing is what separates people who are successful from people who aren't. And by success, I don't mean making a lot of money. Money's important, don't get me wrong. But by success, I mean people that live a life that they find fulfilling, that is productive, that makes them happy. And that's gonna be different for everybody, all right? And I can't define what that will be for any of you. Each of you have to determine what success looks like for you. And don't let other people tell you what that is. Because you ain't never gonna be happy if you're trying to live someone else's dream. You're only gonna be happy if you're living your dream. But I think what separates people who achieve their goals, who realize their dream, no matter what that may be, what that difference is the people who get to where they want to go simply don't quit until they get there. They refuse to accept it when life says, you can't do this. And y'all, life is going to tell you, you can't do this a lot. And the difference between the people who get here and the people who don't is they just don't listen. And they keep on going no matter what until they get what they want. I think sometimes people look at someone like me and say, man, you've been really lucky. I have. I've been very blessed, been very fortunate. You must be so talented and so smart. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not special in any way other than I'm a big guy and I was a decent athlete. That's about it. And that's it. I just didn't quit until I got where I wanted to go. And that did change. As I said, I never saw myself being a professional athlete. It was a baseball player, basketball player, football player, whatever. But because I kept at it, eventually my dream manifested, maybe in a different way than I thought it was. And the same's gonna happen for you guys. And let me tell you something about y'all. You all are so much more talented, so much smarter, so much stronger than you think you are. There is one thing, one person that stands between you and you getting what you want with your life. And that person is you. Life is going to deny you, okay, all the time. Most of life is actually about overcoming challenges and obstacles. Guarantee you, if you're not currently in a problem, you're coming out of one or you're fixing to go into one. That's just life. And so much of it is how you're going to deal with it. Are you going to keep focused on what your goal is, what you want to do with your life? Or when things get really bad, and I'm sure many of you have already been in that situation. So I admire and applaud you for just sticking with it and being here today. But are you going to quit when things get hard? Are you going to keep on going? Because if you stop, you'll never know what life has in store for you. You'll never know what that dream is like. But if you keep going, every single one of you sitting here has the tools, has the talent, has the gift to get what you want, even if you may not believe it right now. And that's the other thing, is you have to believe it. I think a lot of us think we can do it, or not emotionally, but mentally, rationally, we think we can do it, but that part of us in our heart, do you believe you can do it? Well, you have to believe you can do it, and you have to keep on going. When I was in WWE, there were people that were so much more talented than I was. Just better, just naturally gifted. They ain't in the Hall of Fame, I am. And it ain't because of my talent or my skills, just because I'm stubborn and persistent. And that's what y'all have to be in your lives too. But y'all can do it, and y'all can do anything that you want. I truly believe that. It's just a matter of setting your mind to it and keeping on no matter what life throws at you. For this year, most important thing that you can do is make sure that you are there on graduation night. Because life is going to throw a lot of problems, a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges at you. A big one is if you don't graduate from high school, and that is one you can control. And you do not want to be in that situation, because that will handicap you for almost the rest of your life. Okay, this is not just the end of your high school career. This year is a launch pad for where you go next. And you owe it to yourselves to make sure that you do use it as a launch pad, as a springboard to getting ahead in that next step, whatever that may be. Whether it's college, whether it's going to the workforce, whether it's going to a trade school, or whether it's the military, it doesn't matter. If you don't graduate from high school, you're gonna have a really tough time getting to where you want to go in the long run. So I'm gonna make a deal with y'all. I'm gonna be there on graduation night to shake your hand, congratulate you, because it is a tremendous accomplishment. It's a lot of work, but I need you to be there too. So for this year, can you all promise me and yourselves, you're gonna do the best you can at everything. In the classroom, in sports, clubs, whatever it is, you're gonna give your maximum effort. Can you all promise me that? That's about the lamest thing I've heard all day. Yes, come on, guys. Okay. And I promise you I'll be there to shake your hand and tell you did a good job, okay? All right. Thank you all so much for your attention. You guys are awesome. Thank you.